Hey guys, Brent Abernathy with FFL Gulf Coast. I'm excited to be joined today by Keifer Zimmerman, who heads up FFL Saints and is one of the top producers in the entire country. Helped about 600 families last year in her first year in the business, and is growing an agency as vice president, growing an agency that's helped over 200 families this past month. So got a lot of great stuff going on, Keifer, and just wanted to have you on so you could share some tips of your success with all the men and women out there listening. So first of all, thanks for joining me, and give everybody just real quick before we get going, just a little background. I know you've been with us now for about 15 months or so. You started last January. Kind of what you were doing before you came with us and how you kind of came into the business with FFL.
Yeah. So before FFL, I had graduated, I can't say I graduated because it was 2 years after I graduated, but I was just serving and bartending, and I was dating Evan's brother at the time. So I kind of just got into it based off of just Evan talking about it and sharing about it. I saw him do it for a while, but I didn't really know what he was doing. I was like, wow, he must have to be he's probably really smart, or he's probably I didn't know him, and I really didn't have even a relationship with him at the time. But yeah, I just started listening to him. He started talking to me. I was literally on my living room couch. He was just chatting with me about it. And I was like, why not just try it and see what happens? I went to school for business. So I was I always wanted to start my own business. And he was kind of talking about the whole structure of it and stuff like that. And I had no idea, nothing about insurance. So I no clue what was going to happen, but I just thought, why not give it a shot? I'm just serving, so I can always keep doing that. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny looking back, 12 years ago when I got into business, from my background and playing baseball and stuff, it's I never would have thought I would be in insurance or in sales. That just wasn't me. Right. And I think sometimes that's the way it works out is you just kind of find your way in here, and you as long as you have the right mindset, the right work ethic, all that sort of stuff, and the right belief in yourself, right? And that's one thing that stands out, with you, is you have the right belief in yourself. You just know you're going to end up making it work no matter what it is. And just with the platform we have here, obviously you took it and ran with it right away. Now that's a little bit different. I mean, some people like myself, for instance, it took me a little bit of time to kind of grasp what I needed to do and start having success and things like that. Now you got started really quickly, with us last January. And I think you wrote 11 or 12, 13, help 11, 12, 13 families that first week you were in the field. I want you to talk a little bit about your mindset, because I think this was huge for you. Your mindset initially, as far as investing in leads, because that can be a sticking point sometimes with newer agents. It's they don't understand it. They want to try and go help make a bunch of money without spending anything on leads or whatever. So talk about kind of how you got started fast and also your mindset on leads initially.
So, I think when Evan explained it, he had made it sound like it was your business, right? You're starting your own business. So I think from the jump, I knew that I always wanted to start my own business. So I knew that, and I knew I had looked into it. I looked into building a website one time and things like that too. So I had, I know that you have to put money up front, right? And that's a bunch of money to put up front in order to create something that you hope it could have success, right? So I think I always knew that I had to pay money at the jump. And then I also I did Arbonne, I did stuff like that where you had to pay $400 for your first, to get your kit to to start it off. That's how you do it. And then you have to constantly post that on social media and share about that to get people to be interested in starting to do the journey with you, right? And but you have to have success doing it yourself too to get. And it's the same thing with any business. Obviously, even this recruiting and stuff. People have to see you having success so they realize it can happen for them. But that's a lot of upfront money. So I never really had a problem with leads themselves. $1,000 it seemed to start a business. And just hearing the amount of the money that you can make and the families that you can help, and that you just have this many at bats to start it off. You can run 8, you can close one sale and, so with 8 families, like, and you just made your money back. Like I never really had I was like, I can make it happen. It doesn't really matter. So I had also Instacarted, bartended, all that type of stuff. So I was pretty, like, I thought I was like doing really well for myself. I remember Instacarting because Instacart is like immediate, like gratification, which is what I like. So that's what I like about serving too, is you can take home cash. Like I always just like that to like see results right away. And with Instacart, I'd work my whole day, get up at like 8 a.m. and work all the way to like 4:00. And I would just be like driving around. And if I didn't have an order, I would just like keep driving around until I found one that would pop up. And it was just like a constant thing where I was in my car driving around. So it's literally what I'm doing right now. But for that, like that's like for $40, like, like that was a huge batch at the time that I would go like, grocery shop for that person. And I would try to make like $1,000 doing that. And then I would also try to serve and bartend at night. So like my goal was always to at least do like $4,000, in a month, like make that was good. And I was like, I can do that. And I think a lot of people, like I was talking, when you're applying for jobs and things like that, like all that money, like people make that, but I like a corporate job where they sit down and they sit there all day. Like I like to be outside and like, see the outdoors and see, like, not gonna sit in a building all day. And so I liked the aspect that I could like literally stop if I want to stop. If like my mom needed help, like picking up the kids or something like that, like I could just stop and go do other things. So that's what I liked about this business too. And that, but I think that as far as investing and stuff, I didn't have a problem because I thought if I could make $1,000 in a week, doing that, if this doesn't work, I can just go back and do that again for a week and then make another $1,000 and try it again. Like I never had a problem with the leads because I think I just believed in myself so much, in my work ethic, that I was like, I'll make it work no matter what. I don't have like a set job where I have to like, okay, I have to be here from 9 to 5. And then on the, evenings I have to work, and then I have to try to, like, I didn't have to like manage stuff like that. I don't know if that's making sense, but I just had to like, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and I want to make sure. So you were combining doing the grocery shopping for people and delivering groceries and then serving and bartending. Your goal combining those two things was, hey, trying to bring in $4,000 a month total, basically. And so you were thinking, well, heck, if I put $1,000 into leads and it doesn't work out, no big deal. I can just go make that $1,000 back next week, bartending, serving, delivering groceries. So you knew you had something that you could go back to, and it was like it wasn't really a risk to you. That's the way you kind of thought about it. Not only because you believed in yourself, but also because you knew, heck, it's just $1,000. I can go make that next week anyway, right? Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah. I think like as far as investing in leads, it just like, I think that people just have to like, not only like at first when you start doing this, like it's hard to like believe in the business because you've never seen it happen for yourself. Like you can only watch other people do it. And I think that's definitely needed to like believe in the business, and like you definitely have to believe in it and without a doubt, like just jump in and without any doubts. But I also think you just have to believe in yourself and your work ethic. And I think that's what stops a lot of people too, is they don't have enough belief in themselves. They just like, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't? Like, I just never thought about that. I was just like, I'm just going to make it work. And I think that's the biggest difference as far as like getting me started off like fast.
Yeah. And it's funny too. And one thing with you that I know about you is work ethic's never been an issue with you. Like you get after it, you don't wait for stuff to come to you. You go get it. And you're competitive. And I think it's, the best thing for self-belief, to build up somebody's self-belief in themselves, honestly, is work. It's no white space on your calendar. If you fill your calendar up with door knocking, dialing, sitting in front of clients, all this sort of stuff, your belief in being able to be successful in this business, your self-worth automatically goes through the roof just by working, period, and not sitting around and waiting on things to happen. That helps build worth, and work ethic's never been an issue for you. And I also know it was big. Obviously, Evan had validated what we do works, right? So you had the belief in the system that was already set up. And, he didn't have a background in insurance when he came into the business, and, was having a lot of success. And so that obviously helped as well. You had that belief in yourself. You had that belief in the person that brought you in the business, and you had that belief in the system itself, and you took it and ran with it. You helped over 600 families in your first year, and I know you're going to do well more than that this year. And I know you're competitive, so you have to make sure you're up at the top spots every single week, which is, I don't know why you'd want to be anywhere different, right? That's just the way I look at it too. But give some of the men and women, you're phenomenal inside the home with people, and I think you understand it too, that the in-home stuff, it takes care of itself as long as you do the work as far as getting enough leads and making enough dials and booking the appointment. The in-home stuff comes, over time. The skill level inside the home happens with those more at bats, once you get 100 appointments or so. But if there's agents out there that are saying, hey, she helped 600 families, I'd love to hear 2 or 3 in-home tips, like two or three things that you feel are help make you as successful as you are inside the home. What would they be?
Okay. So like for myself, I'm not really good at I don't know money a lot. I think I would reach out for tips from people who are, top sellers and things like that. And they're always like, I just understand taxes, or I just understand finances and things. I don't know any of that stuff. I really don't. I think that the biggest thing for myself is that I just am genuine person when I'm with them. I think the biggest way to sell a client is literally just to sell yourself and be genuine with them. And I think that's what I do with them. I do a good job of doing that. And I think I make it so that they know that I'm on their side from the start. I'm not trying to sell them, have them, insurance poor either. I'm not trying to have them have this huge policy and try to I just tell them a lot of times I don't really care what they spend on insurance. I don't care how much. I just want it to fit whatever they're looking for. I just want to customize a plan to fit whatever needs they want. And I think if I just make it sound like that, we're just going to customize whatever plan to fit whatever needs you want. So we're going to talk, we're going to kind of break things down and see what is really going to be something we're happy to either one of you guys, what that was going to look like, and how we can plan to create a plan to fit as far as your budget, but also make sense to actually take care of you guys if something does happen to the other person. So I think I'm just on their side. I just try to customize the plan. And then I think a lot of times I just use words. I use my words to make them purchase it. I think that I always am a lot of people do that, everyone in your situation does this, it's only this, so this, $10,000 is only this much. It's only this much a month. It's only it's the words that you use are really powerful. You might not even realize it, but I think saying everyone does this and this is what they recommend you do. The minimum they recommend is 10,000. Who the heck is they? I have no idea, but they recommend it. You know what I mean? So just using words like that. And a lot of times I even bring my mom into it. I'm so this is the plan that we did for my mom. This is the plan that my mom has. My mom's got 100 plans out there. Basically how I do. I don't know. I just always try to relate it to everyone's doing this. This is what everyone's doing, and just make them feel they're not alone in it. So I take the sale out of it and just try to basically be human with them and just, relate to their situation and try to customize a plan that actually is going to work for them based on what they need for their budget. But
I think the word customized is a big thing too. Because it gives them feeling like they can build their own deal, and they're invested in doing this as well. And so I'm hearing you say, obviously you get on their side from a standpoint, they know that you care about them. I don't care how much you spend, all that sort of stuff. You get on their side, but I'm also hearing you say that you're guiding them with the way you're talking and what you're saying and things like that. You're leading them to create that sense of urgency. You're leading them to feel okay with getting this done today, that type of deal, right?
I had a client yesterday when I was sitting with her, and I was just she wasn't giving me too much, it wasn't super emotional. She wasn't responding to me the way I look to respond. I have to say, does that make sense? And so in order for her to respond back. Right. And, I was explaining something to her and we told her, minimum for like the funeral expenses and things like that. But then also I was like, if something does happen to him, you guys aren't married, so you lose his income. Like his social security is be gone. You just have yours. And like trying to explain it to him. And she was just like, you could just see, I was like, that makes sense. She goes, yeah. Like she was just like nodding, like, does that make sense? And she was just like nodding. Right. And then while I was doing the application, she just looked at me and I like looked up at her and she's like, I like you. And she just had this like big smile on her face. I was like, aw, thank you. Like she was just, we didn't really connect at first, but I would just like, just make sure she's on the same page as me throughout the whole process. Like, does that make sense? I just keep asking if it makes sense in every step of the way, not just at the end when I gave this whole spiel and say, now you get it. I just like make sure they're following me throughout the whole process of it. And I think that was huge for them to like feel like they were being listened to and understood.
Yeah, it's and some people would look at it as trial closing, making comments like, does that make sense? Things like that, which it is, but it's comforting to the client, that you're wanting to make sure that they understand everything, right? Because unfortunately, and I know you see this all the time out in the field, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in our industry and that do what we do that they don't care if the client understands it or not. They just want to get a policy written and they get out of there and the client has no idea what they have. Right. And so I think clients really appreciate, that fact that you spend enough time and you will. Now, if somebody says, no, that doesn't make sense. Now you stop and you slow down and you back up, right? Until it does make sense. Right. Yeah. And because that's important. That helps keeps policies on the book. That helps build trust. And obviously, we do want the clients to understand exactly what they have, and now let me ask you, were you always leading them? Like look back over, and I know over 15 months, it hasn't always been roses and daisies for you. And you've gone through some ups and downs where not too many. You've been pretty consistently, high level, but looking back during any of those downtimes where you maybe were struggling as far as closing inside the home or whatever, like, were you doing these things, or was there one thing that maybe stands out that you were like, oh man, I got away from doing this one thing and that maybe led to some of the struggles? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think when I don't think the closing was like the hardest part for me. I think the building value has been something that I've gotten better at. I think at the beginning I was just like, pick one. That's what I didn't even know what I was doing. Just like more like, hey, these are your options. Which one do you want? Okay, that one. Perfect. Like, it was just like, and I see it with so many agents too, where I'm like, they don't even know what they just did. Like, that was huge. They don't even know what they just, like, that policy was huge. Like, they don't even know what they're like, oh yeah, I just said, pick. And that's how it goes. When you first start, you're like, so you don't overthink things. You're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do it. And you're just chatting. They're like, oh, I was in the house for 3 hours. And you're like, okay, let's try to cut that down now. What? They're just like having fun with it. And I think there has to be like that, but there also has to be like, that's how I started off. And then I slowly worked more into like, I think I like developed this where I was like, man, I'm just good at closing. Like in my head, I was just like, yeah, I must be like just really good at this. And I started taking out like value of it and relationship with it. And I don't think I'm sure there's some situations where I still have the relationship in that process, but I think a lot of times it was more like I was like forcing it on them. And I remember people telling me like, yeah, you're closing so much. These are huge sales, whatever. I was like, I remember literally last year at this point, it was on Easter. I went to Florida and I remember, Evan did not let me down for this, but like I went to Florida with my family for Easter, and I kid you not, I sent out like cards, which I'll never do that again. Never send out cards again. But I sent out like thank you cards to like everyone I wrote since January. Like I had just hired a staff. So like, yeah, just send out, cards, just whatever. And my phone was not stopped blowing up from chargebacks. And I think like, I remember that point, I was just like being so transactional that I didn't build the value enough at that point. So I think there has to be like a mixture of both those things. And I think I'm now like at that point where I can do both those things, like be serious enough to be like, seriously, what is this going to look like? Like we do have to talk about this right now. This is what I'm here to do. It's not like, oh yeah, we're going to go discuss it later. No, we're doing this right now. That's why I'm here. Right. So I think there's like some assertiveness that's like needed that like I learned from that experience of that. But I think it's also to still remember like we still have to like build that connection and relate to the client. But.
So you went from being pretty much straight transactional to now you're mixing being transactional with also building and having some emotion come up inside the home and that relationship building inside the home as well. Yeah. Fair to say.
I think that sometimes like I'll leave a house too, like at this point, and I'm like, gosh, that was too like, that was like, I was still today, like, it's not like I'm perfect. Like I still today, I'm like, that was way too transactional. Like I can tell, or like the first appointment in the morning when you're not like fully, sometimes that happens. You're not like fully focused. You're like, I just woke up, it was my first appointment. You're like, get in. You're like, I don't even know. I just showed numbers and then they said no. And I just walked out. I don't like, that still happens to me, but I think, I think that like just being focused on because it's a family, like being focused on every appointment that you go into to like do your best job to like, no matter what, at the end of that appointment, you're going to be like, you know what, they might be in an okay situation. And if you can feel good about that and they didn't buy from you and you're like, you know what, they're not going to be hurting, then that's okay. But I think sometimes like also make sure that you're, whatever their situation might look like, if it is going to be bad, like giving everything you have to make sure that they know how. I don't need sometimes to tell people like, even if they don't buy from me and their situation's bad, I will close it and I'll be like, just let you guys know, I don't care if like, it might've been me that was the problem and stuff like that. But like, you guys like literally need to like look through your finances and like get something in place like soon. Cause your situation does scare me. Like there's sometimes you have to leave them like, shaking a little bit, like maybe we should be, and maybe they didn't do it in that moment. And that's like a learning lesson for myself that I should have been more, develop more of that relationship. But I think that, I'm at a good point where I'm doing both now. Yeah.
And you're very direct with people. I know that about you and you're upfront with people and but even saying things like that to them, closing everything down and saying, I'm just going to be honest with you, that your situation's scary. Like, have you always been that way since you started with us? Or was there a point where maybe it was like, oh, I'm just packing my stuff up and I'm leaving and you weren't saying those uncomfortable things?
That's the easy way out though. And I was doing that. Like at some point I was doing that, but then I would get in my car and I would literally, when you get in like an argument with like a sibling or like anyone and you're like, you leave the argument, you're like, oh, that would have been so good to say. Oh, man, I should have said that. Like, oh, I wish I could do that. But now like the moment's over. And I hated that feeling. I would get in my car sometimes and I'd be like, shoot, why did I not say that? Like, why did I not think of that at that point? So I would just like make note of that stuff. And so now it serves a purpose now when I'm in there to make sure I'm saying those things or just giving it enough time to let myself think of those things. Like if we're like, we're trying to think of stuff, I will literally sit there in silence and just be like trying to think of things in my head, of like right responses. Cause you don't need to talk the whole time of the appointment. Like when you show them options and they're like talking about things, let them just talk. Don't be trying to chime into them and like speak as if you're going to your words are really going to be powerful right in this moment. Just sit and like, let it soak in and try to think of the right response that might change the situation.
Right. And to be able to do that, you got to be listening too. Right. Yeah. I remember when I first started and it was like, I would be thinking so much as they were talking that I wasn't really listening. I was thinking, hey, what do I need to do next? What do I need to say next? And I wasn't really listening to them. Right. And I think it's important to, if we're really truly listening to them, a lot of times they'll guide us as to where we need to go with the conversation and the questions we need to ask and things like that. But if we're not listening to them, there's nothing that tells them we don't really care anymore than if they get a sense that we're not listening to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that if you realize that like when you're showing them options, you're really only showing them 3 options, like usually somewhere around 3 options. So when they say that they like need to think about or something like that, you're like, it's 3 options. Like you need a week to think about 3. Like think about that. Like, do they really need a week to think about 3 options? I think they can actually know which option they want. It's just they're scared to do it. So what I also tell people is I'm just like, it's not like it's actually the decision. I think that's like stopping you. I think it's like you feel like a lack of information or you feel like I'm not understanding your situation or like, let's talk about that then, let's talk about that because it's not actually like there's 3 options on the thing. It's not like, I think which one you want, like if you had to choose which one would you choose? Okay, we choose this one. We want to think about. So what do you want to like, which one you want, but like, let's figure out what you actually need to think about like right now on the spot. And I think just like diving into that, because there's other reasons behind it. It's not just that sometimes it's just, they don't even want the product. So they're saying, I want to think about it when they're like, okay, they're not really that interested. They just don't value it. And sometimes that's how it is too. But a lot of it comes down to just like providing more information with them. They don't understand the product, or they don't understand, you don't feel like you're understanding them, or things like that. But
I love it. That was some in-home gold that you just went over. And just being direct and being uncomfortable and saying the things that need to be said, because you and I both know if you don't say it now, you're never going to get in front of them again to have the opportunity to say it, I've never really heard it put that way as far as let me think about it. It's like, what do you mean? I mean, it's not hard. It's not like there's 200 options out there. You know what I mean? So let's transition real quick before we wrap up. Your agency helped over 200 families this last month, got a growing agency, a lot of momentum, FFL Saints. And you're doing a lot of it through Warm Market. You've got family members in the business, your brother's killing it. Over the last couple months, I know he helped, I think 20 plus families a couple months ago, 30 plus families this last month. Your sister is on a part-time basis. Helped, I think, 17 families 2 months ago and was over 20 families this past month. Talk a little bit about how you're growing it. Number one, how you're growing it Warm Market, like how you're going about sharing the opportunity with the people you care about the most, because I know you're a huge family person. And then also talk about kind of what it's been like being in business with people you love and people you care about and seeing them have success as well.
Yeah. So as far as Warm Market goes, I don't actively reach out to people. I don't think, I think a lot of it came from just being consistent posting on social media and things like that. That's what I love about this is it's like, you don't have to recruit them today, you can just keep posting, keep sharing, keep, being consistent with doing that, and they'll just kind of come to you. That's how it was with my siblings. I really didn't find the need to ask them to all do this. I kind of liked that it was just my thing at the time. I was like, oh, I'm just trying this out anyways. I'm not trying to recruit them. Wasn't even focused on really building a team when I first started. I mean, I wanted to, but I just was like, well, I just trying to figure out what I'm doing first, but I was still okay with sharing stuff. And cause I wanted to get a team built. But I think as far as Warm Market, I just kept on sharing stuff, and I don't think I was pressuring anyone. It's just they just let them come to me as far as Warm Market.
So you were sharing on social media, and they just basically just kept seeing it and kept seeing it and kept seeing it. Just the consistency of, and the excitement for what you were having in the business. And they just finally, at some point they said, hey, what are you doing? Tell me more type of deal.
Yeah. And I think that it comes up in certain conversations, just when I'm I remember at school with when I went back to North Carolina, I met with some of my friends at some point, and just talking about what I'm doing and then listening to what they're doing and trying to relate, you'd be really good at what we do, just mentioning it, not I'm trying to push them. I never push them, but just mentioning it here and there, and then just leaving it. I'm not you should really come. Hey, I want to get in the course. Let's get you signed up right now. Yeah. It's really easy. You don't just brush through it. No, just constant little, you would probably be really good at what I do. And then just leave it at that, and then keep sharing your success. And they're it's definitely working in their head, being well, I could probably do what she's doing still, it makes them interested,
makes them want it more. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I think I'm not trying to force anyone to come work with me. I just want to share the opportunity and have them feel when it's their right time, they'll come. So. Right.
Well, and I think one of the reasons you go about it that way so well is because you don't need anybody else, right? Because you go out and you help 50, 60, 70 families a month on your own pen. From an income standpoint, you don't need other people. You want to help other people, and that other people can have success in this business if they put the work ethic in, but you don't need them to put food on the table, right? That's a big deal. That if you need people, you're really trying to sell them hard and recruit them and all this sort of stuff. But no, it's just I'm good. This is my own deal. I'm good. And then finally they're like, man, I want some of that,
Right. You remember when I called you one day because I was frustrated with recruiting, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just gonna sell, because I know that's what, I remember calling you literally being you had asked me if I wanted to participate in some ads or something like that. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm done. Like I was just frustrated at the point. And then I think like the next week I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Just put the ad up. But I went off and sold because I'm like, that's what, get frustrated with. Just go and sell because that's what works too. So
no doubt. Well, the selling part's the instant gratification. The recruiting part is delayed gratification. And it's two completely different things, in different mindsets. And you have to make sure you don't get frustrated because that's the top builders, the top recruiters, the top agencies, and it's the same thing. It's like Groundhog Day every single day. And, it's talking to more people and sharing the opportunity with everybody. And, whatever happens. And if somebody does want to take the opportunity and run with it, like you, right? You took the opportunity and ran with it. Nobody made you do anything. It's just, that was within you, that drive, that work ethic, and if you talk to enough people, there's enough people. There's plenty of people. There's like 2.5 million licensed life insurance agents out there. You know what I mean? It's like, so there's plenty of people that have the opportunity. It's really who wants to go get it and who wants to make it happen. So real quick, how's it made you feel though, to see the success that Keifer and Kendra are having, because they're starting to really crush it, and, they're starting to actually push you a little bit. I know you, but Keifer's told me, he's like, I'm gonna end up writing more than Keifer this year. But anyway, that's for another day. But what's it been like? Because you're a huge family person, just seeing the success and like Kendra is working this thing part-time. She's a mother of two. And she's able to go do what she wants to do a couple of days a week in the field and then spend the rest of the time, with her kids and things like that. Like, how's that made you feel? What's that been like?
Yeah. So, I mean, my sister before this, like her dream, like I would say like for like the last 10 years has been to like just open up her own boutique and like work with my mom and things like that and just like own her own store. And she was managing at TJ. She was making like 70 grand a year. She was doing really well. I mean, and, but I think she never could get herself out of it. Like we always say she's like a dreamer. Like she would just like, she has a lot of dreams to do this, this, and this, but the actual doing of it was like, was stopping her. And I think it was so cool. The fact that like, when my success with this, like allowed her to like enough confidence to be like, I'm sick of this. I'm just going to stop. Like the fact that is like what stopped, like flip the switch to like actually be like, I don't have to go to work at a night, it was 9 to 5. She was working like late hours, but, to go do this and drive, she drives like 45 minutes to work every day and she has kids and stuff like that. She's like, I just wanted to, she wants to do, now she has her own store and she also does this part-time. She's able to do all of it. And I think that's been super cool because now she like finally can actually live out what she's been talking about for forever. And then Keifer, like, I mean, he's always been like business minded too. And I think that we all like in general always wanted to kind of do something together as a family. Like we all went to school for business. We all like wanted to start our own business. So I think and he like moved from Florida back to here because he like believed in doing it and he wanted to help me get this thing running here, And so I think it's just like their belief in me too has allowed like, I don't know, it's just been awesome. Like they're seeing like what I'm doing is working. So they're like, let's do it too and give it a shot. And I think that what's cool about this is it's like this business doesn't like take away from you having success. Like if they have success, like it's competitive in this business. Like I love the competition, but not to an extent where like you either like I win or you win. If I win, you lose. Like it's not how it works. Like we can all legitimately win. Like it doesn't take away from anything. I think that's what I love in this is like, I can be competitive with my brother and sister, but like we can all actually win too. So it's cool. It's not like we
win together. We win together.
Yeah. And I think that like even Kendra, like seeing like Keifer came back and started doing this. And now Kendra's like, I don't know where she came from. She just started like killing it. Like recently she just like, spending way more business and stuff. And it's just, I think like that, reaching out to Keifer now, like that we're all doing it, is just pushing her to do it and pick up her part-time thing and run with it. So,
girl, I got chills when you were talking about how what you went out and did by your work ethic and by your belief in yourself and what you went out and did last year in your first year in the business, how that inspired Kendra to get out of that rat race. She wanted to get out of where she was, but she could never figure out a way to do it. And just by seeing you, go do what you did, it inspired her to make that transition and help, move towards fulfilling those dreams. You said she was always a dreamer, and that's pretty darn cool. Like I got chills because you're inspiring people. And family members, obviously, but you're inspiring a lot of other people out there, Keifer. And, being mid-20s, industry that you've never been in before and having the success you've had and going out and helping all the families you've helped. And I'm just proud of you. And it's really cool to see the numbers of people you're inspiring. And I know there's probably plenty of people out there that maybe they're servers, they're bartenders, they're, maybe somebody that was listening to this that relates to you and says, hey, she did that, I can do that, whatever. How can people reach you on social media if they want to reach out and get going with FFL Saints?
Yeah, it's at Keifer Catherine. It's Keifer. And then 920-857-8795. It's my phone number. Just text me.
All right. Well, cool. Well, listen, I appreciate it, girl. I appreciate what you do for the team and all the families you go serve every single day. And it's just been a joy to work with you and see the growth that you've had so quickly in the business. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, go. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you later.